See, the crazy thing about that is I don't actually believe that either one of them are actually going to end up beating Knuckle or Shoot. So how does that... I mean, okay, I haven't seen enough of Shoot yet, but, I can kind of assume that he is going to be at a similar level to Knuckle. I don't know. But, in terms of, Knuckle and Gon, yeah, I do believe that Knuckle is going to get the best of him, especially now that, he might actually put a bit more effort into it. He's been holding back for a long time, for Gon's sake, of course. But yeah, Shoot and Killua, that's the one I'm really quite excited for. That potential encounter. Not potential, it is about to happen. Yeah. Just, the flow of it. And especially because, I haven't really seen Knuckles' abilities yet either. His Hatsu, his specific Hatsu, but I know next to nothing about Shoot. Right? His approach. I know some things. You can infer some things, right? Let's see. So I might actually get the conclusion in this episode, eh? Who goes to the NGL? Again, ultimately, all of them are probably going to be required in the NGL, but for now... Let's see. Oh, yes. Yeah. It's a different level. Ooh. Oh. Almost kind of functioned as N, right? Kind of. Ooh. Did he just trigger more of his raw potential? Yeah, I think he did. Or something. How cute. Adding interest. Oh no. Whoa, and there's interest on it. 10% interest, okay. That's crazy. That's brilliant. But how do you repay the debt? You cannot outrun the interest, Gon. You cannot outmuscle it. I love the visual representation of it. The looming interest. And psychologically. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, this... Oh, and a distraction as well, I suppose. Oh boy. 10% interest every 10 seconds. That's insane. This is brilliant. Oh god, numbers and Gon do not mix. Look at this. Yeah, Knuckles certainly not a knucklehead. 10,000, 5,000. Nice. I'll have to come back to some of this. Right? And Bisky's been helping them do that, right? Your POP. Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of have an understanding for it. Look at this. Death by math. Of course he's going to explain it, right? It hikes up for sure, right? Wow. You ran out. Yep, yep. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you've got to refine that, right? Ah, yes, compound interest, right? Defeat by debt. Crippling debt. Listen, Knuckles' bit of a, I don't know, genius? Maybe that's a bit of a... Right? You go bankrupt? Right? Chapter 7 bankruptcy. That's a great name for an ability. That interest, man, it'll kill you. Especially 10% every 10 seconds. Oh. Yeah, it takes like a psychological toll as well, seeing that. Just balloon to that size. Look, it's not even fitting the frame anymore. Ah, right. Okay, Togashi. The dangers of debt or interest. Credit card interest as well, perhaps. Man, Knuckle is just... I love this character, man. And look at this now. This is some ability. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Ren suppressor. Whoa, right, Ren suppressor, that makes sense. This is a brilliant ability, unique, unconventional. Because he's generous, because he's kind. You know, it's an ability that makes a lot of sense for someone of this disposition, of a gentle disposition. Oh. Ah, right. Whoa, whoa. Game changer of an ability. I'm thinking of its application in the NGL, possibly. Beautiful animation, look at this. Yeah. All you could do is kind of try to return it. But there's also that loan shark image as well to kind of match his persona, you know? He just has to let the time pass. But it's a bit of a trade-off because it's giving them a bit of a boost. Not a bit of a boost, quite a boost. Now imagine giving that boost to one of the guards, right? My God, brilliant. Love it. I just love it. This is it. This is it. He's gonna have to fight every single instinct in his body, depending on how Shoot engages. And he means to engage from the looks of it. Oh. Okay, yeah. Oh, look at this aura. Could it be just for show? But... Right, yeah, so his ability must be in line with his disposition as well then.
傷つけなきゃ発動しない、そんな能力にした。傷つけても心が痛まない、そんなやつだけを相手にできるように。だが
Look at this. Whoa. Jeez.
お前たちに教えてもらった。認めるからこそ視力で戦わねばならない。
Help each other grow, right? Jeez. There's a lot going on here. So is this... So he doesn't actually have an arm. A little cage thing going on as well. Are these actual hands that he's manipulating, or... Oh, okay, he is a manipulator, but... How are these hands... Ah, the yo-yos. Keep your distance. Look at this. It's a bit of a different shoe at this point. You know, I like it. But these hands, man. You know, now I just kind of want to know about Knuckle and Shoot, the background. Ooh. And just how these two specifically became morale students. Man, you gotta give it to Tagashi. Just keeps me on my toes. And how did he lose that arm? Right, the star again. Speak of the devil. His programming, man. Kicking in. This is a kill. So he's fighting on two levels here. Two different stages or planes. Within himself and Shoot. Ooh. He didn't... Ooh. There's something going on there. Just like how Knuckle made contact. You know, body and spirit. He picked up on it. The distraction there. Right, he's got his own struggle, his own speed bump to get over as well. I like that. I like that. Yep, yep. So far, he's retreating. I mean, not completely retreating. Okay, so is that a stylistic choice, or because there's a ripple effect and kind of like a static in it? This is his internal struggle, titanic internal struggle. You know, the thing that's really sad is that, you know, I'll come back to that point. And there he is again. Look at this, look at this. Larger than life looming presence, always there. Yeah, they're not showing me that left eye, man. God damn. Oh my god, it actually did do something. Oh, and he didn't see it coming. Okay, he's got a blind spot. Yeah. Just like how Knuckle had to make contact. That's all he needed. Ah. I mean, listen, some of these... Yeah, I was just about to say, some of these things are not the worst. A monumental task. Oh, look at this. Oh. Blind spot. Oh. Is that in the cage? His eye? The function of his eye? Is that kind of trapped in the cage? He's usually about counterattacks, right? Or... Oh, that's that titanic struggle I spoke of. Okay. Oh, it's interesting, you know, the imagery there. Kind of breaking free almost. This is so out of character. This aggressive approach, sprinting, but bit of a breakthrough. Could land him in trouble though.
電撃か 怖いな
Yeah, it's a bit of a mismatch, isn't it?
深追いはするな
It's just like shoot. Remember? He's like, this is my chance. Perfect chance. Now, go. Now, go, right?
なんでやめろよ。分かったの。何聞いてんだ。
There you go. There's
ゴ
beautiful.
ンとキルアが割り符をかけた戦いをしている
Whoa.
ちょうどその頃
My beautiful Chimera ant nest. I love these shots. Oh, the queen is not having a good time. That is a great episode. Great episode, man. Just flew by. I love that. The king is pretty much on our doorsteps at this point. Okay, so now it truly is imminent, right? The arrival of the king. And the queen appears to be in quite a bit of discomfort. Hell, it's, it remains to be seen if she'll actually even make it, right? Giving birth to the king, if she'll actually be around, she could die in childbirth. That is a possibility. Now, the crazy thing is, that scene certainly sneaks up on you, doesn't it? Because of course, everything else that's happening, throughout that episode is just, it's brilliant. Both halves of the episode, Gon and Knuckle, and then of course Shoot and Killua. Killua's internal struggle at this point in time is one of the standouts. One of the standout plots of the anime. I've really kind of dialed into Killua's story arc much more than before, I'd say. I've always been dialed in, but just recently, because it's been actually been brought to the forefront, quite an extreme fashion. Even he's kind of been urged. He's kind of been, given an ultimatum. Right. It's quite a deliberate approach by Bisky to push him, to give him that final push. And it is just quite the experience to see him tackle all of that in the second half of this episode, and actually even have, a breakthrough of sorts. Some of the visual storytelling here is phenomenal, right? Him discarding the yo-yos on so many different levels. It's just really quite effective. Of course, at the foundational level, it's kind of like he broke free. The imagery is quite unmissable there. But, the yo-yos have kind of served as this depiction, the symbol of his approach, right? It allows him to keep that distance, to kind of gauge the situation, right? And him discarding those yo-yos and then, choosing to take the other approach, the opposite approach, right? Completely out of character. And that is the thing that is required. And he completely understands that, this is simply the thing he somehow has to accomplish, right? And indeed, for a moment in time, he does break free, and to me, it's one of the most, incredibly, proud moments of the anime as well, as someone who certainly cares for Killua, because like I said in the last episode's discussion, Killua's dealing with a lot, right? There's a lot of trauma there. There's just, the term I keep using is, they've done a number on him. The Zoldycks have done a number on him, but specifically Illumi has done a number on him. Hell, Illumi makes quite a bit of an appearance here. Right? The thing is, most of Illumi's, I suppose, screen time is in this capacity, right? This looming presence that's always there, always kind of, being this anchor almost for Killua. And in this one, it's almost kind of like a living, breathing, voice in his head, Now, just to make it clear, I'm not saying that, Illumi is communicating from a distance or anything, but, the presentation of it is really quite interesting, isn't it? Now, let's put a pin in that because there's quite a bit to get to. I do want to kind of go back to the ending, right? Focus on the scene at the end there, right? The king. But yeah, it looks like it's time. It's time, and it snuck up on me, man. And, honestly, like, this might be the first time I'm actually legitimately thinking about the type of character I'm kind of hoping to see, kind of expecting to see, right? Because, the arc itself has been just so dense, full of fantastic, brilliant characters even, that, it doesn't even give you time to really think about the arrival of the king. Hell, a part of me for a long time is kind of hoping, or was hoping that, okay, I hope the king doesn't show up just yet. Remember around the time Neferpito is born, I was hoping, okay, yeah, give me some time, right? Let's have some time for Neferpito. Let's have some time for some of the other guards. Now, it appears that I didn't get that type of focus for the other two guards just yet. Be it Montutuyupi or be it FILMBuFF. Now, remember, folks, I'm saying it like the characters. I'm trying to just kind of parrot or mimic how Neferpito is saying it. So, I've heard it a few times, and she's saying FILMBuFF, right? I mean, it's spelled, Shia, right? Again, that joke, Shia LaBeouf and all of that came from the spelling of it, but, that's not how she's saying it. So, the only thing I can really do as a first timer is just try to parrot or mimic it as close as I can, right? And to me, it sounds like FILMBuFF, right? That's how Neferpito said it, right? And then I believe I do have the hang of Montutuyupi, right? Montutuyupi. Though, even they call him Yupi. But like I said, I kind of prefer the full name. So I'm going to stick to the full name. But yeah, I didn't get that much of a focus on those characters. I got another really fantastic appearance for FILMBuFF really quite recently. And then, of course, the arrival, the birth of Montutuyupi. But yeah, it's just been a plethora of characters to be excited about. So, the king is almost kind of like an afterthought. And, I don't mean that, in a negative sense, just that, the king's time is going to come, and it appears that it's upon us at this point. But, I didn't feel this, rush to get to the king, because I had all of these characters. I had Kite. Again, I had Neferpito, right? Neferpito's the one that's been really, I don't know, explored quite a bit. As far as the, Chimera ants, or as far as the guards, at least. But yeah, and then of course you've got Knuckle and Shoot. I've said it a few times now, but Knuckle is just a brilliant character. And, of course, if he wasn't already, such a cool character, to me at least, you see his Hatsu, his ability. It's just, I just love it. I love it. Let's not, jump ahead just yet. I'll get to that. I do want to focus on the king and my expectations for this, incoming character. And my hopes and all of that, right? Because listen, folks, I'm expecting quite a bit here, right? That the setup of it just dictates that, right? And I've seen enough of this anime at this point, right, to know that, okay, this is not about to be some cookie cutter, generic king figure, someone that's all about conquest and destroy all, right? Chimera ants #1. Maybe there might be a bit of that in there. He is going to be a king after all. So conquest. Yes, let me kind of, pull it back a bit. Yes, of course, that might be a part of it. But, as far as the character itself, right? The writing of the character itself, the journey of the character itself, because I'm certainly expecting perhaps one of the standout character arcs of not only this anime, Hunter x Hunter, but perhaps anime in general, right? Anime altogether. This king figure's been, it's been hyped up quite a bit by the anime at this point. And, I've really enjoyed the King's Guards. Neferpito is certainly quite a fascinating one, and I'm, really quite excited to see more of her. And then, of course, the other two as well. I'm sure, the more I get to know FILMBuFF, the more I get to know Montutuyupi, it's going to be really quite engaging and exciting. and fulfilling as far as character arcs go. But yeah, the king, yeah. I'm expecting, the type of character that is going to have quite an impact on the story as a whole, the journey this character might go on, right? I'm expecting, listen, I'll give you an example. For some reason, I keep kind of thinking about Roy Batty from Blade Runner. Blade Runner, one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. And if you ask me, I believe it is the greatest science fiction film ever made. Just my opinion. And then, of course, Roy Batty is naturally one of, the greatest science fiction characters, in my opinion. Again, though I'm sure many can agree. I kind of feel like, I don't know, I keep kind of thinking about Roy Batty and this incoming king. Maybe some similarities, perhaps. I am expecting quite a fascinating character. I do think this king is probably going to have some profound moments, right? Given that, human nature is going to be playing a major part. I mean, not going to be playing, it has played a major part in the Chimera Ant arc and, just within the Chimera Ants. Given the fact that human nature is just a part of them, it's a part of their build, it's a part of their DNA, right? So I'm expecting, quite a bit. I've set the bar really quite high. And, the thing is, I really don't think I'm setting myself up for disappointment or anything. I feel that my expectations for the king are exactly at the place they should be. I'm really, really quite excited. And now is the time to finally kind of dream and speculate and get excited, right? Get excited about another new character. And, at this point, Togashi doesn't need to prove anything, right? I've seen it time and time again. This man has such an incredible knack for, characters, for supporting cast characters that are just as interesting, perhaps even more so at times than, the principal cast or the protagonists, maybe. The thing I've noticed, with a lot of anime, or at least the ones I've actually checked out so far, be it on YouTube, be it off screen, though, off screen, I haven't seen too many. Of course, One Piece being the one major, anime that's been a part of my life for a long time. I mean, of course, One Piece and incredible supporting cast is just a given, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the most incredible cast of characters ever assembled, right? But going back to this anime, I've seen it, man. I've seen the types of characters that Togashi can write. And of course, let's not forget the other two characters that showed up recently as well, Nav and Morel, right? Knuckle and Shoot's sensei, their teacher, right? And, like I said, now having experienced both Knuckle and Shoot as characters, and again, initially coming across Morel, right? It's fascinating. It's fascinating that these two are his students. There's that saying, isn't there? You can judge a teacher by their students, right? How their students turn out. And now that the king's arrival is imminent, I'm thinking about how exactly is he going to be presented, right? You kind of go back to the iconic introduction of Neferpito, right? One of the standout moments of this arc, one of the standout moments, at least for me, of the anime as a whole as well, right? That introduction. So now you have the king, right? I think his first moments are about to be critical, about to be crucial in terms of kind of, setting the tone. But again, like I said, I'm expecting a bit of a journey as well, right? Profound experiences and all of that. So, I'm not saying, that I'll kind of judge him immediately or something, but, first time appearance is going to be an important moment. It just is. So I'm certainly expecting something quite intriguing, something really quite, I don't know, shocking even, right? Something, I don't think the arrival of the king is about to be just another day at the office, another day in the castle or in the nest. It's going to be a monumental moment, a special moment, a game-changing moment, right? There's going to be Hunter x Hunter or Chimera Ant arc before the king showed up and after the king showed up. I certainly believe, and I'm certainly expecting the complexion to completely change, the complexion of the arc. And the thing is, now I'm kind of thinking about how the king's guards are going to react to the king. You know, you kind of go back to Ramot and his run-in with Neferpito, right? And how that whole thing played out. You know, I don't think it'll be something similar to that, you know, because again, the king's guard is there for the king. You know, they'll be subservient to the king. That's the whole point of it. You know, they'll be happy, more than happy to do that. But, you know, I'm still really quite excited about the, you know, the prospect of them coming across the king, or the king coming across them, and his first time, I don't know, take on them, or his opinions of them. How exactly are some of the other ants going to react to the king, the arrival of the king, right? And by others, I mean people like, you know, Peggy, people like some of these other officers and all of that, you know, people like Colt, right? You know, Colt's still around, even though, you know, he's taking a bit of a backseat. He's still one of the OGs, essentially, right? So, you know, I'm always happy to see Colt, you know, be a focus. And then, of course, you know, there's a Nen aspect of it as well. The king is going to be born with monstrous Nen, perhaps, right? And abilities, built-in abilities as well. You know, you see that example through Neferpito, right? Now, you know, I didn't see much on, you know, FILMBuFF or Montetayupi just yet, but I'm sure, you know, soon enough, they'll kind of get to flex a bit as well, right? Now that, you know, the arrival of 2 more people is imminent as well, right? You know, the winners of the challenge. I thought maybe I'll get to see it by the end of this, but it, you know, it's about to go into the next episode. Now, listen, folks, like I said, you know, I do expect both, you know, Knuckle and Shoot to, you know, actually come out on top. I just don't think, you know, either one of them is about to all of a sudden best the other in terms of, you know, Gon and Killua besting Knuckle and Shoot. It's just, you know, it's a different level. It just is. You see the experience that's on display, and, you know, the field experience specifically that's on display. It's, again, you know, night and day at this point. And, you know, that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about Hunter x Hunter quite a bit. Yes, you know, there's a principal cast and there's the protagonists, right? Gon and Killua, they have been the major focus. But 90 episodes in, you know, I've seen that the world of this anime is living and breathing and established a lived-in world, right? Full of these types of characters that have existed, that have been doing their thing, right? Full of experience, all kinds of, you know, people, all kinds of characters, different backgrounds, you know, tragic backgrounds that have shaped their journeys and the you know, the place they find themselves in on present day, right? In the anime, or in the world of the anime. So, you know, it's not as if, you know, everything has to be about Gon and Killua. Yes, you know, of course, they are one of the major focuses, but you see, you know, at this moment in time, this, you know, this global scale threat, you know, this potential global scale threat. It's not about Gon and Killua. They find themselves at the bottom of the ladder. It's all about people like the chairman, people like Nav, Morel, you know, perhaps people like Knuckle and Shoot, right? It's in their hands. You know, they are about to take center stage. Now, of course, you know, I'm expecting both Gon and Killua to, you know, play a part. Of course, you know, they simply have to play a part. Especially given some of my, you know, reunion expectations and all of that, you know, Kite and that whole component of the story at this point. But yeah, you know, they're really, really out of their depth at this point in comparison to many of these characters. And this situation in the NGL and the Chimera Ant component of this, right? So I love that about a story. You know, recently I've been thinking about the direction of this anime, of this story, because I do know it's kind of incomplete. Though, you know, even the manga itself isn't completed or anything. You know, I know about Tagashi's, you know, health condition and, you know, his hiatus, his extended hiatus and all of that. You know, to an extent, I can kind of relate. I know it might sound a little bit strange, but yeah, you know, a part of me can kind of relate to it. But, you know, that's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point is, you know, I am kind of thinking about the, you know, the future of the anime. Sorry, not the anime. Maybe the anime. I'm not sure, you know, if it is going to be continuing at any point, right? Maybe from the looks of it, it doesn't appear that there's enough to actually kind of devote time to bringing the anime back, right? New episodes of the anime, not just yet, at least. Again, you know, it's not something I can really kind of look into, but I've got the gist of it, at least, that there's not enough there just yet to continue the anime. But yeah, I've been thinking about the direction of the manga, and if perhaps it does kind of go down a different route at some point in terms of the focus. Is it always going to be Gon and Killua? Is Gon and Killua's I don't know, story arc going to come to a natural conclusion, even maybe by the end of the anime, or at some point of this arc, by the end of this arc, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, by the end of this episode, it's all kind of set up quite nicely, right? The imminent arrival of the king and the conclusion to the challenge. Right now, like I said, I am expecting Knuckle to come out on top, and also I am expecting Shoot to come out on top. But if that is the case, and if Knuckle is to come out on top, that is going to mean that Gon is going to be unable to use Nen for 30 days, right? Because the IRS is coming after him. kind of, right? It's kind of like their take on it. So, if that is the case, that's about to be quite interesting as well. Is there going to be a bit of a time skip maybe, or is it actually going to explore Gon, without Nen, maybe an episode or two? And this expectation I do have of Knuckle and Shoot coming out on top, it's not something I'm saying now. It's just kind of been clear for a few episodes now. I mean, it's been kind of clear for some time now, actually, that Gon is not going to be able to best Knuckle, right? It's clear to Gon as well that Knuckle has assisted him quite a bit. He's gone easy on him quite a bit. He's really quite thankful, right? Hell, if he actually showcased his Hatsu, his ability, right? Chapter 7 Bankruptcy. This is one of the most unique Nen abilities that I've seen in the anime so far. It might be one of my favorites, actually, right? Just the application of it, it's just so clever, isn't it? It's unique, it's unconventional, and the person using it just makes it so much better as well, but it also makes so much sense. It completely just checks out, right? That this is the type of Hatsu that someone like Knuckle developed. But yeah, let's focus on the two encounters now. Let's kind of focus on Shoot and Killua first, as it is near the conclusion as well, right? Now, yeah, it's the back and forth, the tug of war that's going on internally, right? I called it a titanic struggle internally for Killua, right? This is just, it's difficult to watch, to see him go through this, right? It's not the type of thing, us, the audience, is kind of used to as far as Killua is concerned. I've seen it maybe on a few occasions. Last time I saw him kind of in this state, right, is around the time he's being held captive by Nobunaga. I mean, he tries it there as well, doesn't he? To kind of step out, to go against the grain, to kind of go against that programming. And yeah, even that scene, there's a bit of panic. I mean, you see that there's quite a bit of panic in this episode as well. He's being pulled apart into these, different directions. His body is not quite able to, act on his mind or on his thoughts, right? The spirit is, open to one thing, but the body is not. And, because of that, he's getting caught, right? You see that Shoot actually notices that, okay, that was a bit of a late reaction, bit of a slow reaction. And then, a little bit later, he notices, okay, that's much better. So, he's able to deduce that, okay, there is something going on here, that his opponent is struggling with his own issues as well, right? Much like himself. And, the thing is, I mentioned a few episodes ago, but now it's really crystal clear, the pairing that you have here, Gon and Killua against Knuckle and Shoot, right? The chairman is, he's quite clever. He really is. He just knew that, Gon and Killua are going to get the best out of Knuckle and Shoot. It is going to force their hand. But going back to Killua and his struggle, right? And, trying to deal with this trauma, his upbringing and everything that's kind of, brought on. And again, specifically Illumi and his stranglehold over his younger brother, that is, yeah, it's I mean, it's riveting. That's for damn sure, right? To watch this unfold, to kind of be in Killua's corner as he kind of tackles this, and tries to break free of these chains, if you will. And the thing is, I kind of made a point, and I kind of had to stop again, and I decided I'll kind of bring it back into this section. I said it's kind of sad, even though Killua is trying so hard, right? He's struggling quite a bit, um, trying to go against the grain. But ultimately, no matter how hard he tries, there could be, and there's a good chance of it actually, as I certainly hold the belief that there is something else at play here as far as Illumi is concerned, as far as the manipulation of Killua, right? That Nen is at play, beyond again, the programming, the teachings, the indoctrination even, there's something else at play that the Killua simply might not be able to actually, pick up on, right? And that it's sad to think about that, because you see how frustrated he is, and that potential situation, right, of something else being at play out of his control altogether, that could really break his spirit, right? Because right now he's trying to give it everything. And listen, some of these principles that have been instilled are really quite effective. They are, in that profession, of being an assassin. Some of these things have actually, or, the curse, rather, as Killua himself also just, straight out calls it, it saved him on a few occasions in this encounter. But, that moment of him breaking free and, letting go of the yo-yos, discarding the yo-yos, and taking quite an aggressive approach by sprinting head on towards Shoot, right? Again, against the grain, completely out of character. You see that, it's a breakthrough moment and it's exciting. And I'm incredibly proud of Killua to finally somehow, get over that, right? But then you see almost immediately he's kind of pegged back again, because, he once again, he's kind of petrified. His body is not listening to him. He's stuck, much like Shoot is a few episodes ago, right? He's got the jump on Gon and Killua, but he could not pull the trigger. He's stuck in his head. And of course, Killua does try to initiate one of his electricity attacks, but, you see that Shoot almost immediately understood, and he took a step back, and, he noticed earlier a little bit, he saw the sparks. I'm not sure if Killua picked up on that or not, but, this moment, once again, kind of, pegs him back. Once again, he's almost kind of at square one after having a bit of a breakthrough moment. And there's actually something quite interesting that happens, and I'm still kind of thinking about it. There's a possibility that I'm maybe misreading it, and I'm not sure if it's a spoiler for anyone to clarify or not, but you see, to me, okay, I'll give you my initial take on it, and the moment I am referring to is of him kind of having that internal dialogue, right? How did you know? Right? And then within that, Killua himself is also kind of telling himself to stop, right? And I think, the next line of dialogue there is, what am I asking that for? Again, in response to, how did you know that? Or how did you know? Actually, as I'm kind of thinking about it, I think that was in direct relation to Shoot knowing about the attack that's about to come at him and him stepping back, right? Initially, I thought maybe I'm right. I don't know. Now it's beginning to feel like maybe it was in relation to Shoot's reaction to his incoming attack. I thought maybe, he's having a bit of a breakthrough moment in terms of the stranglehold that Illumi seems to have on him. And, by this breakthrough, I mean, that other component of this, other aspect of this, that there actually might be some Nen at play, some manipulation at play, Illumi's brand of manipulation at play here, right? His Nen. But that tug of war I spoke of a few moments ago, or maybe not a few moments ago, minutes ago at this point. Yeah, it's all about, okay, his fear of, potentially losing Gon, potentially having to leave Gon, or potentially, leaving Gon in, a situation that could get him killed, right? Is that going to be greater The fear of that, is that going to be greater than his fear? This other fear that's always been a part of him, a part of his programming, his approach, right? And you see that he's actually able to overcome that earlier on a little bit, right? Again, as he tosses the yo-yos aside, as he discards them. Again, the fear of losing Gon ends up being far greater than this other fear that's been a part of him. But again, he kind of, he gets reeled back into that. Oh, also, I kind of need to quickly finish a point I brought up, a little bit before this. I was speaking of, imagine if Knuckle actually used his ability, his Hatsu, a long time ago at the beginning of the month, right? Imagine, right? He's a great guy. He simply is a great guy. And he's done his best. He's done his part to, help Gon grow as much as he can, in addition to, of course, doing his own thing, right? Making his own progress and all of that. But up until this finale, this final encounter, he held off because he wanted to make sure that Gon is now without his Nen, right? For that month. He wants him to train. He wants him to grow. He wants to help him grow, right? And it continues in this episode as well, right? He's still doing his part, even though he's kind of, picking him apart as well. And, as promised, he is finally kind of flexing a bit of his, true ability as well. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, he chooses to once again explain the details to Gon, right? The details of this ability in this case. But then, of course, on another level, it's actually quite beneficial for his ability, right? To spend all of this time talking about the ability itself, right? Explaining it, right? And the thing is, there's no chance he would have left Gon in the dark about the functionality of it all, right? It's just not in Knuckles' nature to do that. But, could you imagine Knuckle? I mean, I certainly can't. I can't imagine him explaining any of this to, perhaps a potential Chimera Ant opponent. No, right? No chance. Like I said, I've been thinking about the application of, Knuckles' abilities. And then, of course, in addition to Knuckle, perhaps Shoot as well. And yeah, just like I took to Knuckle, I've taken to Shoot as well. This is such a cool character, man. And you see that he's finally loosened up. And yeah, he's got some abilities of his own, perhaps a bit more mysterious than Knuckles at this point, but, fascinating nonetheless. I mean, it appears that, okay, he certainly doesn't have an arm. And again, I'm excited about, I'm not sure if it is going to be a thing, but, I am thinking about it. Maybe that's enough that I am just thinking about, backstories, how exactly Knuckle kind of came about this really specific type of ability. Does it actually relate to his own background, right? Knuckles' background in that field, maybe, right? And then, of course, you've got Shoot. And, I spoke of backstory and all of that. He's missing an arm. What's the story there? But, that being said, he's got 3 other hands right here. Let me lend you a hand. See, the thing is, I'm a little bit confused about that. Okay. During the episode, I thought, okay, are these meant to be hands, like actual hands that are somehow kept in pristine condition, right? And he's manipulating them. I mean, that much is clear. He's manipulating these hands. Killua said as much as well, right? He deduced that, okay, he's manipulating these things. And he actually even felt that, okay, it's more of like a distraction. Because I think they made it really clear that the meat of his ability, and that being snatching parts of a body, right? For that, he actually made direct contact, right? It was him striking Killua, with his own hand rather than one of these extra hands that he's manipulating. Now, and then, of course, let's not forget the cage. And yeah, at this point, my running theory on that is that, okay, the missing eye or that portion of his face is maybe caged at this point, right? Locked away. But, the hands, it could be him conjuring all of these things, conjuring the cage and the hands. I think that's a little bit more likely than those actually being actual real hands, that are being manipulated. I mean, they are being manipulated, but they might be conjured first, then manipulated, right? I feel like that's a bit more likely than those actually being hands that are carried around. And, the showcase of these abilities is really quite deliberate. as well, right? Because now it has us, the audience, really thinking about how, Shoot and Knuckle can assist the chairman, Nav, and Morale in the NGL against the Chimera Ant. And listen, these abilities, they can be clutch, right? If they are able to execute these abilities to the best of their ability, they could be really quite clutch, But forcing someone into state of Zetsu, that could turn the tide, right? Maybe it's not a foregone conclusion or something, as a hypothetical. If you are able to put one of the guards, maybe one of the king's guards, into a state of Zetsu because of Knuckles' ability, right? You could kind of maybe even the playing field a bit by doing that, right? By taking that approach. Now, one has to assume that, the strategy is still the same, right? Kind of laying low, doing their thing. And I'm speaking of Nav, Morale, and the chairman. So, if Knuckle and Shoot are to show up in the NGL, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that they're going to be taking the same approach under, again, those three. At this point, it's really, really crystal clear that Knuckle and Shoot are, these are the types of people or hunters that could assist in quite a dramatic fashion out there. They really can. They just kind of had to get over a few of these, personal issues, right? But yeah, in terms of Knuckle, just how cool is this character, man? I simply did not expect something like this. I mean, Gon certainly didn't expect it. It's not his strong suit, is it? Math and numbers and all of that, just engaging, in that line of thinking. That's just not up his alley, is it? But yeah, compound interest, right? And crippling debt. I did not expect that to be, the major focus of his Hatsu. But it's just so damn effective and, educational as well. If you look at it from Togashi's perspective and, perhaps some of the demographics of this anime, yes, it's a shonen after all, even though, it's not just a shonen. It's a different type of shonen, that's for damn sure. But yeah, it's educational as well. It kind of goes back to that one episode of Zepile as well, right? But this right here, the dangers of debt and compounding interest and all of that, credit card debt, and how it can snowball and how it can just get away from you, right? At a moment's notice, all in an instant. You might feel like you've got this monkey on your back, but in this case, it's this really cute mascot, this chibi APR, the Nen suppressor, and all of that. But at one point, I was beginning to say that that Knuckle is a bit of a genius, right? I mean, the things he's able to kind of accomplish under high stakes. In the middle of a battle, he's able to assess his opponent's aura, right? Their capacity, their limits really quite accurately, right? Now, some of these terms or some of these, I don't know, just some of these numbers, I'm sure some of them are really just things that Knuckle kind of made up, or, things that function for him. I'm not sure if all of this is applicable to anyone or everyone. And, this whole component of really, really explaining it as well. I don't think it's just for the two things I mentioned either, for Gon's sake. And then, of course, as he explains it, the interest accumulates, right? Every 10 seconds, 10% every 10 seconds is insane. It really is. But yeah, this, the way they presented it, it feels like, yeah, it's going to play a part. It is going to play a part. And, I've been talking about, the potential arrivals of Shoot and Knuckle into the NGL and, their part in the fight against the Chimera Ants. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to play a part. And, the thing is, Knuckles' ability can actually allow him to go up against someone that's much, much stronger, an opponent that's much stronger than him, right? And, in this case, perhaps one of the, royal guards. I feel like that's on the horizon at this point, an encounter in the NGL. Because if indeed he is able to make contact, that initial contact, and again, initiate this ability, until that debt is repaid, he's not going to take any damage. But again, it's a bit of a different level once you kind of step up against perhaps someone like a Chimera Ant, or the guards, one of the guards, because there's a bit of a trade-off as well, because he does lend aura, doesn't he? Right? Even though they can't harm him, some of these Chimera Ants might be able to return some of that interest quite a bit more effectively than Gon, right? So there's still a bit of a risk factor there. But if I am understanding this correctly, regardless of how strong someone is, his potential opponents, as long as Knuckle can avoid them, right, or avoid getting, hit enough for them to pay back his loan plus interest, if he can resist long enough, if he can evade long enough, right, he could hypothetically render pretty much anyone helpless. I mean, helpless in the sense that Nen isn't going to be at play, right? If it is successful. But again, the thing is, some of these royal guards are probably really quite formidable anyways, right? Neferpito didn't use Nen against Kite, right? She kind of, really begins to think about that after, right? In an attempt to kind of bring him back, to relive that. And of course, I know how that kind of turned out. But, I love how Knuckles' Hatsu just immediately reformats or establishes a different type of premise for a fight. It really becomes about aura, right? Aura exchange specifically, right? And kind of eliminates the whole aspect of, dishing out punishment, right? Damage, taking damage, at least initially, right? As long as, that is in play. Because of course, once maybe someone's aura is taken away, they can still attack you. Physically, they can still attack you. And again, like I said, some of these Chimera Ants are just gifted, right? Even without Nen, especially the Royal Guards, right? They're built different, man. These are special beings, special creatures, right? But, beyond that aspect of it, just the Hatsu itself, right? Just the specific nature of it, it's so on brand. It makes perfect sense for someone like Knuckle to develop this, given his, again, gentle disposition, and just how generous he is, right? Again, they call him soft. They think that's one of his speed bumps, one of his issues. But you see that he's put in a lot of thought into this. And how exactly does that apply to him being a beast hunter as well, right? Pursuing these beasts but not hurting them, but ultimately subduing an opponent without actually truly harming them, right? That's kind of like the basis of it, right? That's the idea behind it. So depending on the opponent, for a moment, Knuckle can be invincible, right? Because as long as the enemy owes him Nen, he's going to be immune to physical damage. Again, unless the attack or the attacks are from someone who can fully pay the interest, right? And again, if you kind of scale it, someone like one of the guards, the royal guards, yeah, it's a bit of a different case in comparison to Gon or Gon. And again, if I am understanding it correctly, you can now quantify, or at least Knuckle can, the amount of Nen that different users might have, right? So that could be really quite useful. But yeah, as far as compound interest is concerned, yeah, you certainly want to be on the side that is receiving it rather than the side that has to pay it. But yeah, I think I'll end it off there. Really good episode. I mean, I thought it's a worthy episode for, episode 90. I really did. Really quite enjoyable. And yeah, episode 91 promises to be another, fantastic episode, to say the least, as far as things are shaping up. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, consider dropping a like, consider dropping comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or, full opacity or timer-based full length, of course, consider checking out the Patreon page. The links are in the description and the pinned comment. Again, I really do implore you to read the descriptions, the tiered descriptions, before you commit or before you pledge. And if something isn't clear, don't hesitate to reach out in the YouTube comment sections. I'll do my best to get back to you. There's also links to social media if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.